Alright, we are back. We have me and we have the best, most stupendous person in the world!
Adrian!
Yeah! So, we finished case 3. That was a really cool case. Went places.
A lot of twists and turns.
And we're like, that's the third case. We have 2 left.
I actually feel a little bit like a ding-dong because I did not see the apprentice being Kazuma. I didn't see it coming at all.
Me neither, which I think is weird because I read this thread on one of the gaming boards and, like, everybody put in spoilers like, oh, this guy's supposed to be Kazuma, right? And I'm like, how'd y'all... And this was after we played the case, I was reading this. I'm like, how was everybody getting this? And why am I so dumb to not know it? Like, I know the game hinted that Kazuma was alive, but, that doesn't necessarily mean I would have thought it was this apprentice guy. I don't know.
I had actually suspected Sholmes, but...
Yeah. Apparently not. Alright. Time to see the opening to episode 4, Twisted Karma, and his last bow. Or bow. What do you think it is?
Twisted Karma and his last bow. Yeah.
Bow? I think it's, last bow, show's over. Okay.
Pipe in hand, Sholmes looked down at the thick, rolling fog outside our window. I wonder exactly how many mysteries are out there, hidden within this bed of fog, he said. Indeed, a most bizarre incident, born of a curious advertisement. A hellhound's mad gallop through the shadows of a serial murder. An executed man's graveyard resurrection in the dead of night. And a commonplace killing in a small, forgotten room at the edge of town. There is, naturally, always another side to every case, of which most remain ignorant. And it is that other side which compels me to the scene of the crime, Wilson. So quickly now, take your hat and let's be on our way, my dear fellow. For our adventure is not over yet. Come, the game is afoot.
Also, I'm pretty sure I heard them say the same word before, but I forgot to mention it. I think, I guess it's interesting. I really don't have anything else to say besides it's interesting. The British pronunciation for advertisement, because it's advertisement, which I actually think is more like playing it as it's written.
Okay.
But, like, every time I see, like, advertisement, but, like, I'll see it in captioning, I'm like, oh, I can't wait for them to pronounce it the way they do.
Oh, I used to have coworkers that called it that.
And they were American?
Yes.
Mm.
And I just thought, oh, that's an interesting way to say that.
It's funny because it's like wrong in American, but technically it's right because, I mean, English, UK, or England itself was English speaking before we were because we came from there.
There's a lot of words like
Yeah.
that.
Alright, 8 days after that earth-shattering trial and Kazuma regaining his memory, we were in the foyer of one of London's most luxurious hotels, the Great Waterloo Hotel.
Was that Shelley the Killer?
Maybe we'll see Shelley the Killer's ancestor.
Yeah.
Like Hellish the murderer. Professor Mikotoba is due to arrive at any moment. Ooh. Yes, I'm so glad we got here in time. Susato-san hasn't been the same since what happened. Not that I'm surprised. The truth about Kazuma-sama's father... Do you suppose my father knew that he was actually the masked murderer, the professor, you mean? I knew that's what she was thinking about. There's a good chance, I'd say. I mean, they did come here to London together 16 years ago, didn't they? Yes, that's true.
Come to think of it, didn't you say that Professor Mikotoba knew about Kazuma going missing in Hong Kong as well? That's right, but for some reason he wasn't at liberty to talk to me about it. That probably means he knows, then. About Kazuma showing up here in London with amnesia and that he's regained his memory now. Ah, there she is.
That's the judge, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wait.
But wait, the guy to the right.
Oh, okay, they're both there, the judge and her dad. I didn't really see her dad.
God, the judge is a big guy.
He does look like a big man.
But he did do that Susato takedown. That's why I'm wondering if he's in on this thing too. Because
They're all in on it, I think.
Yeah, because he did that takedown to the guy right before he was going to talk, and then he knew that she was the lawyer. What I don't know is, do all of them have good intentions about whatever the heck they're doing?
I don't know.
Are some good, some not good? Because some of them could have noble intentions and some don't. We don't actually know everything behind the scenes quite yet. So, hello Susato, how are you? I'm very well, thank you. We're delighted you've arrived safe and sound. Hello, Mr. Naruhodo. Very kind of you to take the trouble to meet us here. Oh no, not at all. It's my pleasure. We've heard all about your extraordinary exploits here in London, you know. The news has crossed the seas. It has? I always look forward to reading the monthly reports that arrive with the steamships from Britain. Oh, I see. Well, thank you very much. Who is this man, and why do I feel as though I've seen him before? Pshh. I take it from your expression that you can't quite place me. In that case, how about a little reminder, Shishiro? A firm tap should do it. Yes. Firm tap? What? Is he gonna take me down? Here we go, then. I hereby pronounce the defendant Ryunosuke Naruhodo. How did they pronounce it? I feel like I pronounce it slightly differently than the game did.
I can't remember. It was a little different, but I think you can keep calling him what you are.
Yeah, Ryunosuke. I mean, I think it sounds cool. Guilty. Oh dear. Guilty? Ah. Oh, you're... Oh, come to think of it. Yeah, the last time we saw him, Susato was the lawyer, so he hasn't really seen him since that last time he was in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it'd be harder for him. Okay, we're now here at the trial. Your Excellency. Hello, Judge Jigoku. How are you? It's been a long time. Ha 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 ha. Good, you've remembered now. That really did the trick. Guilty. Ha 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 ha. Only I was declared not guilty, wasn't I? And there was no laughing at the time. So London again after all this time. Hard to believe it's been 10 years. To be honest, I never thought I'd be back. Neither did I. I didn't imagine Japan would ever be invited to an international symposium like this. Though really, I doubt anyone did, to be honest. It's all thanks to you, isn't it, Shishiro? What are you talking about, Eugen? Ha 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 ha. Of course, Judge Jigoku. He must complete the set. He's the other man who 16 years ago came to London with Kazuma's father and Professor Mikotoba. He's the third visiting scholar. Well, all these passport checks and luggage searches at the border took rather a long time, or rather a lot of time. I must say I'm rather envious of your ministerial status. You didn't have to go through any of that, did you? I knew you were jealous. Ha 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 ha. Sorry? Ministerial status? Oh, ministerial status. Yes, didn't you know? Shishiro here is also Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs. It was his personal insistence that allowed you to take Kazuma's place here on this study tour. Oh boy, okay, yeah, he's in on this. Boom. Guilty as charged. Ha 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 ha. Oh, well, thank you very much. He's really every bit as important as he looks. Ah, yes now, Naruhodo. I received a telegram from Lord Strongheart yesterday. Oh, you did? It appears that some things came to light in a trial you were involved with 8 days ago. About what happened 10 years ago. A tragedy. Yes, could you tell us any more about it? Your journey from Japan, Kazuma's father.
Light him up first.
So how was your voyage here? Well, 50 days at sea is a long time by anyone's standards. But it wasn't as bad as when we first came 16 years ago. Yeah, that's true. Then I truly wondered if we wouldn't be drifting in the vast ocean for the rest of our lives. This time, we followed the same route as you, and we were able to relax and enjoy the experience. Ah, so you stopped in France's beautiful capital, Paris. We did, yes. Though only for one night. And yesterday evening, we left the port of Dunkirk for Dover. Just in time for the symposium, in fact. It starts tomorrow. It's wonderful that you were invited to attend such an important international event. I'm very proud of you, Father. It's thanks to Shishiro here. 16 years ago, he managed to ingratiate himself with Britain's Attorney General. I'm sure that's why he was invited, and I suppose you could say I'm something of an appendage by default. Speak for yourself, Eugen. You were close friends with the professor of forensic science at a major hospital. Yes, well, I'd rather not dredge all that up, really.
Would that be Courtney Stevens?
Professor of forensic science. Was he the professor of forensic science at the hospital?
I mean, maybe not.
No, there's been a lot of water under the bridge since then, but it
Unless
doesn't bring
that
him
was
back.
Iris's dad.
Kazuma's father, I suppose. The professor, the killer who took the lives of 5 members of the British aristocracy, was actually Kazuma's father, wasn't he? That's correct. Genshin Asogi. Genshin. You know, I presume, Father? Yes, he was a close friend at the time. Genshin came to Britain as a police detective who was studying investigative techniques at Scotland Yard. I've never understood what drove the man to commit such heinous acts. It was a closed trial, so the public never knew the truth, and he was executed with little ado. To this day, very few people know what really happened, even in our homeland. But what about Kazuma? Did he know? Did he know the truth about his father? No, of course not. He was told his father passed from sickness. However, I suspect he may have had his doubts. Oh, why? As you know, I tried to guide Kazuma growing up as if he were my own son. Then one day, he came to my office at the university and said, I've decided I want to travel to Great Britain and study there. Do you think he wanted to come here to investigate his father's death? I don't know. But when I looked into his eyes, I didn't know that there was no way I'd be able to stop him. Something else came to light in that trial the other day, actually. Oh, what? Well, having disappeared in Hong Kong and been missing for almost a year, Kazuma has since turned up here in London working as the apprentice of Lord Von Zeeks. What? What? That's news to us.
Okay, they really didn't know that?
So, Lord Strongheart's telegram neglected to mention that part, then. Huh. Yeah, that seemed like genuine surprise. He was sweating.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, we both thought Kazuma had died on the steamship during our voyage to Great Britain in January. But he didn't die. He's alive, as you knew, didn't you, Father? In actual fact, no. What I did know is that when your ship docked in Hong Kong, he mysteriously vanished. We sent a team of investigators to Hong Kong to try to ascertain what had happened, but to no avail. But he's still alive and here in London, you say? I never dared even to dream it. Why on earth did the young man not make contact? The government and the police have been chasing clues fruitlessly for months now. Well, it seems that he was suffering from amnesia. What? Amnesia? When we first came across him again here in London, he didn't know who either of us were. I see. He only regained his memory 8 days ago. This is unbelievable. Yes, it's quite miraculous. Wonder why Lord Strongheart didn't let us know. I must speak with him urgently. Wonder how Kazuma's been these past few days. It would be wrong of us to go and visit him. That began 16 years ago now. It's a distant memory, really. It was Yujin here, Genshin, Asogi, and myself. We were the original 3. First judicial scholars from Japan to travel overseas to study. Ocean voyages were not what they are today, I can tell you. 16 years ago, things were tough for their generation. Your father was an exceptionally fine medical student at Yume University at the time, you know, young lady. Yes, grandmother told me. He wanted to do research at a great London hospital to study autopsy, practically unheard of in Japan.
So he was working with Stevens.
Yes, it was an eerie place sandwiched between the back of a prison and a burial ground. Not my cup of tea at all. Do you remember that Scottish prison governor? Caden, his name was. He was a good man. Yes, but then of course in our 6th year here everything changed with that dreadful case, when Genshin was arrested for a series of the most gruesome murders. I simply couldn't believe it. I'd known the man for years. I was a witness at the secret hearing and I tried to speak in his defense, but you went a little too far and ended up facing charges yourself, didn't you? Well, suffice to say that after that trial, we were sent back to Japan. There was nothing more we could do to save Genshin. It was a lost cause, sadly. Well, if you'll excuse us now. Yes, I'd like to get this trunk up to my room as soon as possible. Oh, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have held you up here for so long. I'll call for the porter, then. Just wait here. Susato-san's gone off on a run. I'd like to stay and talk more, but I do have various preparations to make for tomorrow. Yes, of course, it must be a big responsibility representing our entire country. I wish you the best of luck. Naruhodo, I hope you'll keep an eye on Susato for me. Keep looking after her as you obviously have been. Oh no, I mean, if anyone's looking after anyone, it's her looking after me! Well, I do appreciate you being there for her. After all, I've been a miserable father to her. I thoroughly let her down. Sorry, what do you mean? Well, it was 16 years ago that I started my long study tour here in Britain, as you know. The very year Susato was born. Yes, I heard. The birth of my daughter was the most joyous event of my life, but... well, sadly, it was accompanied by the most tragic event of my life, too. Oh yes, Susato-san hinted at something like that. It was a rather turbulent time at home. Anyway, I won't bore you with the details. The point is, I became rather less dependable than befits a grown man. And it was then that Seishiro offered me the opportunity to study here in Great Britain. I was too worried about you to leave you behind, so perhaps I was a little heavy-handed when it came to persuading you to accompany me to London. So that's what happened in a nutshell. And that's also the reason why I now feel compelled to give my daughter as many opportunities as I dare, though the world does not readily afford young women such things, I must say. I completely understand, Professor. Let's read what he said again. One other thing, Naruhodo. If I may be so bold, I have a favor to ask you. Oh, really? Of course. What can I do for you? Well, the thing is, I'm so sorry that took so long. Wasn't he a juror?
That's, not Beppo, but yes.
Miss Susato. Now then, allow us to take your bags. Like, wasn't he upset with Beppo over something he did?
Yeah.
He was a jerk. Allow me to take your bags. One moment, if you please, Porter. Of course, sir. That machine around your neck. It's a camera, I believe? Quite right, sir. Just 5 shillings for a lovely photograph to commemorate a wonderful stay at the hotel, sir. Well, I think given the occasion, we could justify the expense. Ah, yes, of course.
Mom looks really happy.
Susato does.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank you for coming with me, Mr. Naruhodo. Truly made Father very happy, I think. Oh, well, I'm pleased then, but we were interrupted before. Professor Mikotoba was about to ask me to do something. Shall we return to Baker Street, then? I expect Iris will have some delicious tea waiting for us. Yes, let's go. I'm getting more and more anxious about Cosmo, though. Perhaps I'll try to meet with Lord Strongheart later and ask after him. My guess is we gotta go to Sholmes' suite first before we can do anything.
Okay.
That's my guess. Wee! Wee! What was that? A man screaming in a most unflattering way. Do you think... Could it have been Mr. Sholmes? Oh my, I do hope not. Wee! I don't do it anymore. Mon ami, mon ami. Stop this disgraceful display, huh? Ooh, who are these people? Look at their hair, it's bright red. I think they must be clients of Mr. Sholmes. Right, you two, you're coming with me now, down to the clink. No, not in prison, it is dark and damp and I don't like it. Both the darkness, it is my friend. I am not scared. Wee wee! But you are always scared of the dark. Shut your mouth, you idiot. I will sit quietly in the dark and plan our next daring heist. Wee! I don't like this. I don't like it. It's like one Italian and one French?
I don't know.
Well, tough. We'll finish this down the yard. Now get moving. Bye then, Ginny. Have fun. Oh yeah, thanks, Iris. And thanks, you great detective. Hee hee. Gina makes a fine detective herself, doesn't she? Oh, Susie and Runo. Hello, Iris, we're home. Well, did you find your daddy? Yes, we arrived at the hotel just before he and his friend. Oh, well that's great news. I hope I'll get to see my daddy again soon. Ah, yes, of course. Dr. John H. Wilson. So, Iris, all that remains now is that greatest of problems known to man.
What? His hair's red.
Oh my god. But before we concern ourselves with that, I believe some tea is in order, don't you, my dear fellows? Is something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? Do I have a crumb or such like on my face? Not so much on your face. It's on your head, I'd say. Come along then, everyone. I've brewed a lovely special blend. Time for tea. Whatever is going on here today. In that case, let us sit and drink now. For I am, in fact, expecting a guest later today. Your two visitors, the greatest problem, the lie you told.
How's that called as visitors?
Maybe that will reveal the mystery with the red hair. Mr. Sholmes, who were the two gentlemen that were here before? Oh, just a pair of petty criminals, nothing of significance. Of course, they have to make a living somehow. And when the mood takes me, I'm willing to turn a blind eye to all manner of infractions. When the mood takes you, all manner of infractions. But when such fellows set their sights on Mr. Herlock Sholmes, well, that's when their luck runs out. Oh my, you were the target of a crime, Mr. Sholmes? But I quickly devised a plan to entrap them and deliver them to our young detective ally. You could have asked Grexy to come too. We could have had an arresting tea party. I did send word, but no answer was forthcoming. The man is consummately in the wrong place at the wrong time. There's a word for it, I'm sure. Aha, I have it. A bungler, that's the word. It's a good job he's not here to hear you say that. So those redheads had been up to no good. I wonder what the men did. I think they dyed people's hair. That's a crime. What was that about the greatest of problems known to man that you mentioned before? Is it another fiendishly intricate case, Mr. Sholmes? How should I best explain it? Are you aware of the theory of evolution by natural selection, perchance? Well, I think I've heard talk of it somewhere, possibly. It's a revolutionary scientific theory that was newly proposed 40 years ago now. According to its author, Mr. Darwin, we humans were once apes who lived in the treetops. That was just as a book of evolution, just right there. Wait, what? We were apes? Indeed, and from the very moment those apes descended from the canopy to live as humans, it has been our lot to be at the mercy of the greatest problem known to man. Our lot? What is this great problem, Mr. Sholmes? Why, is it not obvious, my dear madame? The problem of rent. Ha! But did you not receive a rather large sum of money from Madame Tuspels only the other day? Pshaw, a large sum. One pot of herb for Iris and a new motor car for me later, and all of it has quite disappeared, I assure you. Honestly, Hurley, you know you squandered it. Yes, well, anyway, 2 days ago, I discovered the answer to man's greatest problem, for the coming month at least. What was the answer? Why, there was a substantial clue before your very eyes. Don't tell me, let me see. Humans are sorry creatures, unable to see what is in front of their noses. Let me give you some assistance. Don't look, but observe me very closely. There's one particular feature about my person that has changed. You should notice it in the end, I think. In the end? It's been stabbing me in both eyes, right from the very beginning of our conversation. I think we might need another clue before I uncover the full answer, Mr. Navarroto. Thanks for the hint. I'll be tearing my hair out if the charade goes on much longer. So he dyed his hair? That's the answer to the rent? Mr. Sholmes, isn't it about time you told us the truth? Just over a week ago, you said to us, I will now tell you something of the first importance, my dear fellow. Great detectives are wont to lie. It will serve you well to remember that. That case aboard the SS Beria in January, Cosimo wasn't killed and you know he wasn't dead at the time. So what was really going on? The fellow was unconscious for a very long time. If he hadn't regained consciousness when he did, his life would have been in mortal peril. Of course, a side effect of the prolonged comatose state was amnesia, as you now know. It was a simple enough task to silence the crew. But how? After they'd carried him out of the cabin, I assembled them in the lobby area. Then I made them swear to leave him unconscious and have him unlaid from the ship in Hong Kong as a murdered corpse. Oh, how horrible. It was necessary to find some material with which to persuade the crewmen to keep their word, of course. But why? Why do it in the first place? I will be at liberty to elaborate in due course. But for the time being, I would like to reassure you. I didn't foresee subsequent events. What events? His disappearance in Hong Kong. Oh. I believe I may have made a gross error of judgment. Mr. Sholmes?
Interesting.
feel like we're not done, though.
I know, did you show him something? We have nothing.
Yeah, like... Were we supposed to mention his hair? Because he didn't talk about it.
Can you present a picture of himself to him?
Nope. Here's my armband. Alright, Mr. Sholmes, about this. Tell me, Mr. Naruhodo, is this the first time you've shown me this particular trinket? Oh, I don't really remember, to be honest. It's my saying that it's a collar for a breed of miniature canine with a particularly long neck were to precipitate a "here we go again" from your lips, you could be sure it was not the first time. Deduction, you see, my dear fellow. Deduction. Yeah, I feel like... something.
What about the mask on the...
Yeah, I did kind of see that. I don't know if that's an individual thing. The mask Cosimo wore when he was assigned to Lord Von Zieks as his apprentice. When he cast it aside after the trial the other day, I just sort of picked it up. And I can't help feeling he might turn around and tell me coldly to wear it myself. But isn't he your best friend? Well, maybe we can loop around. Let's go to the... What to do? It's good news that Professor Mikotoba arrived safely, isn't it? Yes, it's wonderful, and the fact that Father has been invited to this important international event really makes me very proud to be his daughter. Your father, Judge Jigoku, us, and Kazuma, of course. There's an ever-increasing number of Japanese here in Britain's capital, isn't there? Well, yes, I suppose so. But London does have a population of 6 million people, so I think we're still a minority. Susato-san's father, who came here as a visiting student 16 years ago in Kazuma, it's all as if some great power had been at work, drawing them here across the ocean to London, and I feel as though the waters are starting to swell again now.
Did you go to the water now? Or Lord...
Yeah, I was going to say Lord Strongheart. Let's see. Well, there we go.
Von Zieks.
Oh, that's Von Zieks. Here's the final draft of the opening address for tomorrow's proceedings. I've supplemented your original with the figures you asked for from the yard. I see. Excellent work, thank you. You're welcome, my lord. What's Lord Von Zieks doing here? My, there seems to be an awful lot of tension in the air, wouldn't you say? This place is stifling enough as it is. We really don't need any more tension. My apologies, I didn't notice you come in. Your small stature and dark dress make you all but invisible to me. Oh, no, it's entirely my fault for wearing black, I'm sure. From now on, you must dress in white from head to toe whenever you come here. Now then, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, my lord, I'm right here. Oh, kill me now. Is something wrong? Perhaps it's a little too hot in here for you. Oh no, not at all. I mean, I've never experienced a room at such a perfect temperature. If you're sure, the beads of sweat carving their way down your face seem to suggest otherwise. Because of the daggers you were staring at me with, mainly. As you're no doubt aware, my International Forensic Science Symposium begins tomorrow. In fact, your father arrived in London earlier today, I hear, madame. Oh, yes, that's right, my lord. He's extremely honored to have been invited. I'll leave the remaining preparations for the meeting room in your capable hands, then, Lord Von Zieks. I will attend at once. He gave you a very cold stare as he left, didn't he? I know, but I haven't done anything, have I? These past few days, my feet have barely touched the ground, I must say. My dedicated right hand of many years was recently put out of action in spectacular fashion. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Is your left hand still of service? Mr. Naruhodo, he's talking about Dr. Scythe. Ah, of course.
Well, you have to think, though, if they're from another country...
They don't know that expression.
Yeah.
Now, I would expect Susato to be more well-read and know that. That's just funny. I'm terribly sorry about that. I was just, fear not, you've done nothing wrong. Dr. Scythe's own wrongdoing precipitated the situation. You needn't concern yourself with it any further. That would be a lot easier to do if it weren't for the piercing stare you're giving me. Lord Von Zieks is doing an admirable job of holding the fort. Though, disturbingly, his apprentice has been missing since yesterday. Oh, missing? What's become of Kazuma-sama now? Missing apprentice, the Forensic Science Symposium.
Surprise.
Let's go with apprentice. About Lord Von Zieks' apprentice. Ah, yes, that came as a surprise to me, I must say, that you and he are old friends. How did he become an apprentice to Lord Von Zieks in the first place? It came about 3 months ago. An unidentified Asian man was apprehended by border police. They found him hiding aboard a large goods vessel. Oh my! So he stowed away to get here. He had no papers to identify him, no passport, and he was suffering from amnesia, too. Other than the fact he was clearly of Eastern descent, there were no clues as to who he was. So I decided to assign him to Lord Von Zieks, that way I could keep an eye on him. But then why the mask? I didn't want to burden Lord Von Zieks with tiresome explanations about why he had an Eastern apprentice. Because it would be so much easier to explain why he was wearing a mask. He's proved to be a great help to Lord Von Zieks. I have high hopes for his future. By the way, do you know where he's gone? No idea, but I believe he's left London for the time being. Oh. I take it you also didn't know? The man's father was one of our country's most infamous criminals, I mean. Genshin Asogi. What we learned from that trial 8 days ago was a huge shock. Finding out my friend's father was, ah yes, Genshin Asogi. The Professor case 10 years ago caused a great stir here in Britain. They were such awful murders, and unprecedented, using a ferocious dog as a murder weapon. And no one would have believed the culprit was a foreign student invited to study here by the government. Using a ferocious dog as a murder weapon, is that the Hound of the Baskervilles?
Yes. That's how they knew that that one guy was hiding that collar. They knew what that collar was.
So the true identity of the killer couldn't be made public then, and can't be made public now. No one in your country knows it was him, and neither do the citizens of London. The main motivation was to avoid aggravating relations between our two nations at the time, I understand. Correct. However, it has to be noted that there were some supporters of the professor's apparent cause. What? Supporters of a mass murderer? The majority of the man's victims were a blight on the aristocracy of the day. Somewhat ironically, their deaths actually benefited society as a whole. Or so a fair few thinkers in London believed, anyway. But one of them was Von Zieks' brother?
Mm-hmm.
Right, I see, but it was still murder, wasn't it? It seems very similar, doesn't it? To the idea of the Reaper of the Bailey. Not long ago, visitor numbers to the Great Exhibition exceeded 30 million. 30 million? Are there even that many people in the world? As a comparison, Mr. Naruhodo, the population of the imperial capital Tokyo is 2 million. I will be opening the International Forensic Science Symposium in the exhibition's main auditorium. This event has been 2 years in the making, 2 years of preparations and negotiations with other countries. It sounds like a tremendous achievement. Congratulations. The 20th century will see the wholesale adoption of forensic investigation techniques, and cooperation between policing organizations around the globe will be essential, which is why this landmark first symposium had to be hosted here at the heart of our great British Empire, in order that Scotland Yard can become the leading investigative organization in the world. He's the same as ever, I see. That passion of his is quite something. You're every bit as passionate in your own way, I'm sure, Mr. Naruhodo. I'm the only person in this country who truly cares about a future that embraces forensic science. It's my intention to become Her Majesty's Attorney General and reform the Yard from the ground up. So the disgrace of the forensic investigation team has been a bitter blow to my ambitions. I first established the forensic investigation team a year ago, experimentally to start with. With Dr. Scythe at the helm, it was steadily accruing an impressive record of achievement. I was on the verge of changing its name and elevating its status to a full-blown forensic investigative department. And can you not do that now? Obviously. Nobody wants to hear anything about it at the moment. Even I can't keep this story out of the papers. 6 million Londoners will be cursing forensic science now. This incident will set back our country's advancement in the field by a good 10 years, I'd say. Unintended repercussions of our trial. We simply couldn't have overlooked what had happened, though. Of course not. We should all be grateful to you both. Anyway, I'll still reform this country's policing when I become Attorney General. This might delay my plans, but I won't alter them. Nothing can stand in my way.
I'm not gonna believe this, but I'm getting tired.
What? Tired from
Worky?
I work too.
I don't know.
So wait a minute, it's like we exhausted everything though.
Did we?
Yeah,
Did we go to the water wheel?
that was where we started.
Hmm.
Do I present him my armband? I'm the Lord Chief Justice. I'm not here to offer advice about evidence. Oh. Especially when the evidence in question is so dull. That's the real reason.
Put the newspaper on the couch.
Huh. This looks like last week's edition. What's that article circled in red ink there? It's an advertisement column. It says, "To the Red-Headed League."
Oh.
Oh, I remember that Sherlock Holmes story. The Red-Headed League. The Red-Headed League? What's that? I don't know. I've never heard of it before, but... Is something on my face? Clearly this has something to do with that lively hair. Oh, there we go. Good job, hon.
Then have to see if you can ask him about it.
Oh yeah, see? Present it. It looks as though someone circled an advertisement in this paper, Mr. Sholmes. To the Red-Headed League. Does that strike you in some way? I was thinking that just maybe it might be related to your bright red hair. So, at last you've learned to apply my methods, Mr. Naruhodo. Sorry? In the first instance, an quite indispensable observation. Believe me, I could have seen that hair with my eyes shut. So then, allow me to regale you with the details of my latest exploits. Regale or boast? So what is the Red-Headed League, which seems to be the subject of the advertisement you've circled? You noticed it in the paper, then. That, my dear fellow, was going to be the source of this month's rent payment. It was? How? According to the advertisement, The Red-Headed League is a distinguished institution of fellows of unspecified governance. In fact, the only condition for becoming a member is having red hair. That doesn't entirely surprise me. But listen to what the lucky redheads receive once they join. An unconditional salary of £4 a week. Oh my, £4 a week? But why? What are they paying people for? That I don't know. No details are given in the advertisement. But surely every red-headed person in the country would be flocking to join in that case. You're right, Susie. There's no time to lose. I'll put in my application at once. So will I, just on the off chance. That might be stretching a point, I think. The trouble is, they have a fixed number of members, you see. Oh, I see, so once a certain number of people have joined, no one else can. But as luck would have it, one member recently passed away. As luck would have it! It wasn't particularly lucky for the redhead in question, I feel, Mr. Sholmes. What?
Giselle Brett, was she a redhead?
No. Was
What
she?
was her hair?
I thought it was blonde, but maybe it was red. It's funny, memory can change the color of hair. So you decided to try to join in his place. Correct, I mean, look at me. Have you ever seen such a red-headed fellow? No. So why? Why did it have to go so wrong? What on earth happened? A blunder, Mr. Neverhodo, though it pains me to admit it. What did you actually do to your hair, Mr. Sholmes? I'm glad you asked, Miss Usato. What you see atop my head is neither dye nor a hairpiece. I changed the color of my hair overnight by the wonders of chemistry. Chemistry? I was conducting some research into a method of rejuvenating spent tea leaves. And in the course of my work, I stumbled upon a potion that, when taken, turns one's hair a flame-like red. Would you like to try it? It will make every hair on your body perfectly crimson. I think I'll pass. Huh, it is kind of reddish. She just googled, Giselle Brett. Interesting. But Mr. Sholmes, is it quite safe to drink? Surely it's not bad for you, is it? Heh heh heh. Ah, amateurs are always hampered by such fears. Oh, I should have never doubted you, Mr. Sholmes. You mean to say... But of course. To earn £4 per week, one must be prepared to turn a blind eye to a little danger. That degree of red signals more than just a little danger, surely. So anyway, Hurley left full of confidence yesterday with his new red hair. Or did it say now red hair? Yep. For the park on Lime Street, where the Red-Headed League was interviewing prospective new members. So what went wrong? The whole park was choked with red-headed folk, like a Coster's orange barrow. I queued, right, it's queued, it's not queued, right? Queued. For 8 hours solid before at last I reached the front. When the panel of interviewers saw me, they immediately said, "Ah, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, are you in disguise to conduct an investigation?" So naturally, I had no choice but to reply, "Don't give me away." After which, I could do little else but turn and leave. Then this morning, when I looked in the mirror, irritation stirred within me. So I turned that pair in to the police. Oh dear, what a disaster. For Hurley and those two redheads. Ding-a-ling-a-ling. Aha! Here's my guest now, my latest client with money to spend. Ooh, I do hope it's an exciting case, Hurley. Remember, Iris, we are at present gripped by the greatest problem known to man. I must be willing to accept any case, no matter how unstimulating, save locating a runaway, of course. Don't spare anyone's feelings, will you? Oh dear, I'm afraid that Hurley can lack a little tact, especially just before the rent is due. Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, please, oh please, another juror. Please find my husband, he's run away. to upset me? I beg your pardon? Never mind, a personal matter, my apologies. What exactly are you trying to say, Mr. Naruhodo? I didn't say a word. Come, my dear madame, be seated. Iris, some tea, if you please. Of course! What's the matter, Mrs. Sato? Oh, it's just that gentlewoman. I feel sure I've seen her somewhere before. Very recently. Yes, now you come to mention it. As I explained earlier, my name is Evie Vigil. I implore you to take the case, sir. Money is no object. Simply name your figure. Money and wealth are of little consequence to me, madame. Being offered a case to solve is reward enough. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, you are the picture of benevolence. I will, of course, make a mental note of your offer, however, for contingent reasons. I trust you will remember your words also. If I might inquire, sir, this gentleman and lady would be... Oh, me? What I am about to tell you, I shall let to communicate in the strictest confidence, you understand. Ah, these are my friends. I assure you, you may say before this pair anything which you may say to me. Ah, I see. I can vouch for the gentleman personally. After all, he's hard of hearing. Why did I ever get my hopes up? Forgive me for asking, Mrs. Vigil, but have we met somewhere before, quite recently, perhaps? Oh my. Ah, my dear fellow, what is your intention? Clearly you have no ability to differentiate the facial features of the English. If you wish to invite the lady to tea, you must do so in a more gentlemanly fashion. Is it possible that you're the nice young lawyer from the trial I attended last week? Ah, I knew I recognized her. To have a man's fate in the palm of one's hand. Oh gosh, oh golly, it sends shivers down my spine. I didn't quite recognize her because she's acting so differently now. It must be very difficult for you as a lawyer, being hard of hearing, I mean. Pardon? Oh dear, I'm so sorry. Don't worry if you can't hear. It was frippery, really, nothing more. Now look what you've started, Mr. Sholmes. Thank you very much. I believe it would be prudent for you to sit quietly in the corner. Yes. Tell us about your husband, madame. Mr. Vigil, my daily, is 40 years of age. I have a photograph here. An entirely unremarkable gentleman by appearance, at least. How long have you been married? It will be 15 years this year. We have a cordial relationship, and my husband's income is more than adequate, so we live quite comfortably. As it would appear, I need only look at you to know these things. Oh gosh. Your dress is the latest style, your hat clearly regularly groomed, and your eyes are animated. In short, you have no inkling as to why your husband might have disappeared, correct? That's right, he's a kind man with a strong sense of loyalty, and he rather dotes on me. Which would point to the possibility that he has become embroiled in some incident or other. Oh, that is exactly what I fear must have happened, Mr. Sholmes. I'm quite beside myself. My husband's employment is somewhat unusual, you see. What if he's incurred some miscreant's ill will? What exactly is your husband's line of work? He's a warder at the prison. A guard? That is somewhat unusual. So your husband is a prison warder? That's right, yes. Well, in actual fact, he's the chief warder. Indeed, I see. Well, chief prison warder certainly qualifies as something of a specialist occupation. Yes, it does indeed. My poor husband must prepare those dreadful punishments and see that they're carried out. Dreadful punishments? Does she mean capital punishments? and at such times he must occasionally spend a night or two in the prison dormitory. But for that extra responsibility, he is remunerated more handsomely than the other warders. Of course, we make no mention of my husband's work to the neighbors. Yes, I believe your prudence is justified. Tell me, at what prison is your husband engaged? Barclay Prison, Mr. Sholmes. Really, Barclay? Oh, a fine establishment. If I'm not mistaken, there is a large cemetery just behind it. Yes, that's correct. Lowgate Cemetery. No. Lowgate Cemetery, the very place we were discussing in court. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable, my dear fellow, and yet undeniable. I love that they can read his thoughts. Sorry, Mr. Sholmes, I'm afraid you've lost me. Pay no heed, madame, pay no heed. A private matter. This can't really be a coincidence, can it? So, to the matter of your husband's disappearance, when did you realize he was missing? Please try not to laugh. It was yesterday. I'm sorry, yesterday. It really is recent. Laughably so. The truth is, my husband does at times have occasion to spend the night away for his work. It's not at all out of the ordinary for him not to return home at night, but this is different. For him not to make any contact for a whole day, this has certainly never happened before. Oh, my dear Daly, whatever can have happened? My dear Mrs. Vigil, please, calm yourself. Now then, have you contacted the police? Why, naturally, but sadly, they refused to listen to my pleas as my husband has only been missing for one day. I was asked to wait patiently at home. In truth, Mrs. Vigil, I concur with the police. However, let us not be hasty. I see no reason why we should not engage my deductive powers to track your husband down anyway. Oh, thank you, Mr. Sholmes. And furthermore, let me assure you, a chance to solve the greatest problem known to man for another month has no bearing on my decision. I seek only to put a sweet smile on another Londoner's face. That's really all there is to it. You have my eternal gratitude. I shall pay any sum you care to mention. You seek only to put this sweet's rent in your landlady's purse. That's all there is to it. Thank you for everything you have shared with us, Mrs. Vigil. I believe I have all the information I need to begin my investigation. Oh, please report to me soon with good news, sir. Fear not, madame. In a day or two, I shall be contacting you with a heartening report, I'm quite sure. So soon? Oh, how splendid, Mr. Sholmes. Good news should be delivered early, I always say. If you would be so kind as to leave the photograph of your husband in my possession. Thank you. Now, allow me to show you the door. I can't thank you enough, Mr. Sholmes. You've been simply marvelous. You know, I think it every time, Hurley. But how do you come out with such nonsense? Good news in a day or two, are you sure? I can't be sure, of course, but then I didn't swear on it. I merely gave the good woman some hope. I hope to be able to give her good news, one might say. After all, the rent must be paid by the end of day tomorrow. If by that time I've successfully located Mr. Vigil, we shall be mutually relieved. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Naruhodo? Don't look at me with those pleading eyes. Well, my dear fellow, did you hear the details of the case? Yes, my hearing is surprisingly good, actually. Excellent! And what did you make of it? Well, I was surprised to learn where her husband worked, at Barclay Prison, I mean. Ah, so you noted that. Of course, especially with the mention of Lowgate Cemetery. Lowgate Cemetery is at the rear of Barclay Prison, so it was renowned among us students at the university of being haunted by the ghosts of condemned convicts. Barclay Prison is where that notorious man was incarcerated, the professor. And now a warder from the prison has mysteriously disappeared, it would seem. It's all very peculiar. Indeed, but nothing you can't handle, I'm quite certain, Mr. Naruhodo. Sorry? Run along to the prison and see what you can glean, would you? It's the prison governor you want. No doubt the man is equally worried. But aren't you going to go yourself? Surely you needn't ask. I can't possibly be seen out with this hair. But didn't you go to Lime Street with that hair? That was a quite different matter. So I leave it in your capable hands. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm rather busy. Of course you are. All right. All right, with Adrian going to sleep, we will have to stop it early, but it was still nice to kind of get this case going.